You've been good to everybody in your life. You give them presents, you write them birthday cards and all the shit, right? How has it gotten you? I get share certificates in companies. I don't know where they are. I get $50, $100 bills, and I treat them like dog shit. And the worse I am, the more gifts I get. Again, how's your program working out?
Most of the gestures of friendship that you do, nobody gives a shit about, because most of you are pleasers. I'm the antithesis of a pleaser.
Henry Ford, the first a pleaser, no. Elon Musk, no. Bill Gates, no. Warren Buffett, I can go down the list.
They have the same attitude that they don't give a fuck what you think, what you say, what you feel about them. It should not go unnoticed that how much different these people are than you. Am I the only one that sees this? They weren't afraid of anything, and if they were afraid, they did it anyway. Just the opposite of you.
They're all alike. They're all assholes. They don't send flowers at Christmas or at Easter. When do we say? I don't even know when we send flowers. They never say they're sorry, which is the biggest. When you cut that fucking word out of your vocabulary, you will grow 50% as a human being. Because first you cut the word out, the actual action. Then over time, you cut the feeling out. And all these guys are the same. Success leaves clues. If they're all not like you, what in the fuck is that telling you? But the key is, can you now do what you know it takes to be one of those kind of persons? That's the real question.
Now, you have been taught to make people comfortable. You've been taught, for the most part, to be a pleaser. If you do that, you're going to take a long time getting professionals. You put them on your back heel, as they say in Britain. You make them uncomfortable. The first financial presentations, beads of sweat will come off their foreheads, the bankers.
By the way, you know the word nice, the derivative of the word nice? It's a 13th, 14th century Anglo-Saxon word that means retarded, imbecile, moron. When my mother used to say, well, I got a nice girl, well, I don't want to meet any nice girls. Part of being a pleaser is giving tacit approval. Tacit approval is, you and I talk, you know I'm talking bullshit, but you don't say anything to me. You just listen. You might even shake your head like this, not on purpose, but just like this. So you're giving me tacit approval by not speaking up. And your whole lives have been based on tacit approval because you don't want to be confrontational, but pleasing and giving tacit approval is why you're here.
Now, there's a lot of people you don't like, but you don't say that. A few years ago, I interviewed the former assistant to Tom Cruise. And I said, well, can you tell me without telling me anything private shit, you know, that's in the news that maybe I don't know? He says he gets up every morning, 4:35, like he didn't make a penny or a picture or wasn't famous. Every morning of his life, 7 days a week, he gets up like he's starting from scratch. Now, see, I don't consider commitment and focus as sacrifice. You do. Why? Because when my dad retired from the LAPD after 28 years of being a cop, he never took a fucking day off his entire 28-year career. So what kind of role model did I have? From 1971 to 1997, I worked every fucking day for 26 years. Every single day. From 1971 to 1997, I didn't take one fucking day off. If you think that I'm driven now, you should have seen me when I was 30. I was a psychopath that could work 120 hours a week, go 3 or 4 or 5 nights without sleep, drink like a fucking fish, fuck all day and all night. I was a living, walking, motherfucking psycho.
And I used to get 5 to 8 presentations a day, 300 cold calls a day. But I was in a hurry and I was serious, unlike most people. I wasn't pretending, and I sure as shit wasn't a pleaser.
Because to me, default of being poor was not acceptable. I'd rather be dead.
And I probably had 100 suits. I'm 24 years old. I probably had 200 pairs of shoes, 10, 11 cars, 2 chauffeurs. It's not that you want this lifestyle change. It's that you demand it because you deserve it. When your mindset gets to that point, I mean, life changes. It flips.
But if I have to motivate you kids, you're not going to make it. This is about creating generational wealth. Josh has done it in 3 as a 17-year-old. We have teenagers making $1 million a year. Well, I don't even brag about them. I don't even talk about them on the internet. Because $1 million a year is chump change. Well, then why can't you do it? Why haven't you done it? If a 17-year-old kid can do it, Jesus. But see, you haven't been taught to think that way. You've been taught to think, well, maybe he's special. There is nobody that's special. But seeing the person you could have been, now that's a bitch. Because heretofore, this is what you've learned about making money. Shit.
There's no excuse for dying poor other than it's your fault.
I couldn't understand why people couldn't come up with 6 or 8 grand 25 years ago. When I was my poorest, when I had nothing, I could come up with 10 grand. I mean, when I had nothing, I could come up with 10 grand. Like I took a shit. I don't know anybody that can't come up with 20, 25 grand. I don't know physically, other than seminar attendees, I don't know anybody that I've talked to in the last 25 fucking years that can't come up with $25,000. I mean, I bumped into them at an airport or some shit, or stood next to them in a fucking elevator, and the people that I know that couldn't come would be embarrassed to say they couldn't come up with 25 grand. You realize how low on the fucking motherfucking food chain you are? But who tells you not to just fucking do it, right? Your parents. Stay out of the street, you're gonna get hurt. When you go to school your first day in kindergarten, whatever your school is, keep your head down, don't get in trouble. If you get in trouble, I'm gonna tell your father. And look what the result has been. Kids only lack leadership. They don't lack brains.
What would you do if you weren't afraid of what your parents thought of you? It didn't bother you what people said about you, thought about you. You have no idea.
And all of you in this room can speak louder and more forcefully. Nobody's ever accused, well, what did you say, Dan? I couldn't hear you. My whole life. You have to act with confidence.
Well, confidence is everything. I was talking shit since I'm about 16, 17 years old. Muhammad Ali, I'm the greatest, hadn't beat anybody up yet.
They all talk shit. They don't talk shit publicly because they're worried about their legacy. I don't give a fuck about my legacy. Part of my legacy is that I talk shit. Everybody on the planet doubts. The difference is the high performance people don't share their doubts. When you come home and how was it at the office? What did you do? You know, everything's great. Couldn't be better. Words matter. Even if you had a shitty day, you allow yourself to share that doubt, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But that's how you've lived all your fucking life. You think it's funny. It's not fucking funny. You lived all your life. When you come home from work at night, your wife says, or your slut that you're living with, how was, oh, it was a motherfucker today. It was a bitch. The boss wasn't nice to me. I lost 2 sales because I'm such a vagina. That's how you sound when you come home. But I mean, all the high performance people I've had the privilege of being around are the same. Give compliments when richly deserved. Too often they say, good job. Well, fuck, what the fuck's that mean? We don't want good jobs, we want extraordinary performance from everybody. And it starts with you. What QLA is, the definition of a high performance person is to always do what he says, and always say what you do, and be all you can be every single day. L, M, and N are the 3 most important parts of the report. What did you do to scare yourself? How many cold calls did you make? And what did you learn this week? You haven't asked me that, but the most successful people in the program have standing desks with treadmills underneath. So they're walking all day long. 4 kilometers an hour seems to be the perfect speed. He gets up in the middle of the night, same as I do. 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning to work for a couple hours, then goes back to sleep. Success leaves clues. The next thing he does, he already lived on the 54th floor, one of the big buildings in Manhattan. Now he's on the 79th floor. And the view from the 79th floor is a lot fucking different than the 54th floor. He used to drive an expensive, the most expensive Porsche. So there's no plan B. They're spending more than they're making. There's no alternative. They either succeed or they go bankrupt. And the most successful people, that's what they do. Now everybody's got a motherfucking opinion. Do you really think anybody cares about your opinion? No. But you give them tacit approval because you listen to them.
Steve Jobs used to say no 1,000 times. I say no, K-N-O-W, when to say no. And when you're at this stage of your career, always say no. If you never said yes in your life, you're better off. Life is where you are now. And how's this fucking program worked out for you, old timer? Not worth a shit.
Because you're used to failing. You don't expect to succeed.
If you don't think you're going to change the world, guess what? You're not going to change the world.
Enthusiasm and focus, that's all you really need. Enthusiasm and a laser beam focus, nothing else. And then, I mean, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm hard on everything. Because I have high fucking standards.
Whoever put us here to be all we can be, not a fraction thereof.